You know what? Let me open. Where's that? Geez, brain leaving. Remember I was telling you guys about me suddenly going very stupid when I get sick? Right now.
Oh, I'm gonna get away from you. I'll see you guys later.
With much fanfare, he leaves. Okay, so I'm going to focus on this little IK-FK switch demo I have. Because of its simplicity, in terms of how it looks. I'm going to turn off polys for a second here. This is a little bit weird, okay? So there's other ways we can do this, but the way that I like to do this is by using the hypershade, which is a little bit weird, because after all, it's let me turn Jimmy down a little bit too while I'm at it here. It's kind of melting my face with his awesomeness. So the hypershade usually is what we think of as handling shaders, right? It's usually what we use to create custom shaders, layer shaders, and blah, 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 blah. But, little known fact, all of those utilities that are in the hypershade can also be used to create various conditionals within Maya. So in this case, I like to use the hypershade to basically tell the wrist, or I should say tell the forearm, when the wrist controller, which we made sure to line up with the wrist joint, right? Remember it was 1-to-1? That's why all of our joints and all of our everything doesn't flip or get weirded out when we don't maintain offset and we still use an orient constraint. The reason is because all of our controllers correspond with all of our joints. Not cool how that works out? The advantage of that is that now we can say, okay, when this controller does something, I want the forearm to follow. Okay? And what we're going to say is, when this controller rotates at 90 degrees, I want you to be at 45. If this controller goes to 180 degrees, I want you to be at 90. Essentially, whatever the wrist control does in terms of twisting like this, we want the forearm to give us that value in terms of rotation on there by 1/2. So there's two ways we can do this. It's pretty damn simple. We can either divide by 2 or we can multiply by 0.5. They both give us the same thing, right? And essentially what we're going to do is, it's another huge if-then statement, now using the hypershade. We're going to say, okay, we're going to pull in this controller. We're going to say, when you rotate in X, take that value, multiply it by 0.5, and plug that, what the hell is the word I'm looking for? That value. But that's so redundant. Plug the I guess, product? Plug the product into the rotate X on that joint right there. And when it does that, what you'll wind up with is that smooth dampening. And it's a little bit counterintuitive, right? Because if you think about it, the forearm twist joint we have is actually the parent of the wrist. If we handle this using set-driven keys, say, for example, what we'd wind up with is the whole rig freaking out because it would break the hierarchy. It would say, yeah, but you're the parent of you, and you're telling it what to do, and oh, total anarchy. Just cats and dogs living together, right? So instead what we do is we use this condition to kind of get around that issue hierarchically. So let's open up the hypershade and get going with this. If you didn't set up FK forearm control, you're going to have to do it for both IK and FK separately. Because, remember, both of those systems tell the base skeleton what to do. So if we only told it what to do on the IK system, we'd be totally disregarding FK. In which case, whenever you switch to FK, you have no forearm twist, and you get Tootsie Roll squishiness right there. Okay? So we're going to do this process twice, and we're going to start right now with FK. So let me just get all of my joints all ready for me to grab and see and whatnot. So I'll select the hand joint by dragging. So I select all of them. And I'm going to hit F in my outliner. And what that should give me is, oh, that's right, I hid them. So I'm going to extend them to, while I'm at it. Except I don't know why, because my brain is leaving me. I really don't know why I did that. Anyways, sorry, everyone. Aforementioned stupid clause. Okay, so there's all our joints in our arm, shoulder, elbow, twist, wrist. Cool, those are the ones we need. Now we're going to actually take this wrist controller curve, and we're also going to use it. So let's open up the Hypershade. So it's going to be under Window, Rendering Editors, because we're about to do some rendering. Okay, we're not, but that's what I mean. It's kind of weird. Hypershade. All right. Now, in order to do this, I like to clear up my Hypershade a little bit to make it easier to read. So I like to just kind of get rid of this. So all I do is I drag this dotted line thing until it goes away. Boop. Next, we're going to change the tab from Materials to Utilities. And I'm also going to squish this up a little bit like this. So this is how I'm going to work with this, right? Like this. It almost looks like a blackboard right now. Okay? Next thing I'm going to do is, with my controller curve selected here, I'm going to right-click in the work area, go down to Graph, and say Add Selected to Graph. And that's going to give me this little icon right here. My work area.
You just dragged it in there?
No. I can see that. Select the control curve, right click, go to Graph, Add Selected to Graph. Okay. I suddenly remember why I had those FK and IK joints expanded. Brain came back. Because we actually need the FK forearm twist joint. In this case, it's called FK joint L twist. So I'm going to select that joint specifically, and I'm going to add it to the graph. Right-click, Graph, Add Selected to Graph. Okay. So now what we have is our wrist control. We should have our forearm twist joint in here. All right, so far so good? Yeah, I see you're all writing. I'll give you a second or two. Mainly because I'm starting to lose my breath here. Okay. Ooh, man. Okay. Next thing we're going to need to do is to add a multiply divide node. Okay. Oh, I do kind of love this song though. Okay, there we go. Now we can think straight. All right. So the way we get the multiply divide node is by right-clicking once again, and we're going to go down to Create. And in Create, we're going to have a crap load of stuff. The one we're looking for is under General Utilities. In fact, most of the time, the ones we're going to be looking for are under General Utilities here. Okay? And under General Utilities, lo and behold, we have a multiply divide right here. Okay? So once you release that, release the beast, you're going to... It is still a little bit louder than I would expect. Okay, we have our multiply divide node. This is what we're going to be using to create that dampen rotation. But first things first, let's rename the bastard so we know what it is. Because we're going to be using this on both arms and on both sets of IK and FK. So we're going to have 4 of these guys by the time we're done. So I'm just going to double click it to open the attributes on it. I'm going to take off the 1 on it, and I'm going to call this L FK. Actually, yeah, I'm going to call it LFK arm multiply divide, so I know exactly which one it is. Now, this is what we're going to be working with to get the multiply divide node working. Essentially, what we have here, we have these 3 channels, right? X, Y, Z. Now, the trick is, to a certain degree, if we're only multiplying one value, it doesn't really matter which one of these values we plug into, right? If we're only working with one thing, these other guys can just kind of hang out and chill. In our case, I'm just going to use the X channel here. So input 1 is going to be our wrist control's rotation X value. We're going to plug it in there. And input 2 is what it's going to be divided by or multiplied by. So I'm going to say, instead of divide, I'm going to leave it as multiply because it's a little bit cheaper on resources, or so I've been told. And I'm just going to say 0.5. If you want to do divide by 2, be my guest. It'll both work out to the same thing. And basically what this will do is it'll take whatever value here and multiply it by 0.5. That's great. But now we need to plug our values in, right? So the way we do that is we're going to take our wrist control, which is the little curvy S-looking icon. And we're just going to, I like to middle mouse drag by this little arrow to remind me what the hell I'm doing. You can do what you want. But all we're really looking for is this little pop-up where it has more. And, you know, like the greedy child in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, we want more. More will bring up, actually, hang on a sec here. Should be. Why is this showing me? Hang on a sec here. Is my brain not working to that extent? Oh, sorry, other, not more. Oh man, I'm sorry. Okay, other is what we're looking for to get our connection editor coming up. Okay? I swear I've never done this before. Okay, so over here we have LFK wrist control. And it's going from and to. So it's pretty easy to understand, right? So we're going to scroll down this list. We're going to look for rotate. Expand that. And we're going to say rotate X. In case you're wondering what the hell we're doing, you can go back to your controller. You can hit E. And you can make sure that the tool settings are set to local object. And, yes, it looks like it's X, right? We want the one that twists around this way. But we don't really want to twist it, though, Jonathan. Okay, so X. That's how I know. So rotate X, and we're going to plug that into input 1. We have to expand input 1 because it's got 3 values, and we're going to put input 1 X. All right. Now we're going to close this. And even though it didn't draw a line here, there is now a line connecting the output from this to the input of this. And if I click on my multiply divide node, you can now see input 1 has this little yellow channel here letting us know that something has been tied into it. And if I was to go back to this controller over here and give it some kind of value, we went back to our hypershade, and back here you can now see it has value. So that's how this is going to work. And it's going to work in real time. It's going to say, okay, 75.154 times 0.5. Right? Okay. So right now, that's great. We have a mathematical operation going on, and we're doing nothing with the product. So now we need to basically plug the output of those that little operation that we've determined here. We need to plug the output of this into the rotate X of this. So now we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to middle mouse drag from here to here, go to other, and now we should have the multiply divide node from and to the FK forearm twist. And it's going to be output X, obviously. So expand rotate, output X to rotate X. Okay. Once that's set up, they should go like italic. And now it's set up. Set up for FK. So now, let's look at the, actually, let me go to Outliner here. So I'm going to go to the FK twist joint. Right now it is, and also you can see it's been tied into something. Right now it's set to 0, right? Let's see what happens when I rotate the wrist 90 in X, or 090, because, yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. Twist. Now it's at 45. See that? So now, if I was to turn on the polygons, and I was to turn on the wireframe, you can see why we did this. If I was to zero this controller out and start twisting this. You see how he has a nice smooth transition down his arm, and there's no, even if I go to like 180, there's like barely any loss of volume. And that's because this one is helping this one along, right? And so it's got this nice transition going. Let's switch to IK and see what it would look like if we did that with just straight up IK. So we were at 177, I believe. And that's what will happen if we don't set up that forearm dampening. That's why we do that, right? Right. Okay. So our FK is set up. Let's set up our IK. So I'm going to go back to my Hypershade. I'm going to actually clear my work area. You can click on this little eraser here to get it cleared off. This time, I'm going to want my IK controller curve to come in. So graph, add selected to graph with it selected. There it is. And now, oh my goodness. And now we're going to want the IK twist joint added. So IKL twist, graph, add selected to graph. There it is. All right. Now we're going to create a multiply divide node again. So right click, create, general utilities, multiply divide. We're going to rename it LIK arm multiply divide, which should match our naming convention for our other thing. So same damn process. I'm going to middle mouse drag from here to here. Other, and it's going to be our rotate X. So rotate X to input 1. Close this. Open up our multiply divide. Tell it multiply by 0.5. Now I'm going to middle mouse drag from my multiply divide to my joint. Go to other. Now I'm going to plug the output X into rotate X. All right. And so now my IK is set up too. So let's type in that value we had a second ago, 177. Not quite doing the same kind of twisting it was doing before, huh? It's at least trying to maintain its volume. Okay? And that's how we set up the forearm twist. Cool? Everybody got that? Yeah. Now I'm done.